Associated Press. You have the first question.
Thanks, Karine. Is the president considering blanket pardons for either individuals or groups of people who are fearful of potentially being targeted by the incoming Trump administration?
So look, I'm not going to get ahead of the president, but what I can say is that the president is reviewing other pardons and commutations, and I do want to lay out a little bit of the history, the history the president has taken over the last almost 4 years, actions that he's taken, because it's important to note that the president has so far issued 20 individual pardons and 122 commutations. He's issued more sentence commutations at this point in his presidency than any of his recent predecessors at the same point in their first terms. This is in addition to groundbreaking categorical pardons that the president issued to address marijuana possession, convictions, military convictions in the LGBTQ plus community. And as recently as April, if you go back a couple of months, the president issued 11 pardons, 5 commutations for individuals convicted of nonviolent drug offenses who demonstrated a commitment to rehabilitation. So there certainly will be more to say, just more broadly speaking. And as you know, commutations and pardons are usually done when it's the president's final term historically around the holidays, and so certainly there'll be more to come. Anything outside of that, I would say that I'm not going to get into deliberations, private deliberations, and I'm just not going to get ahead of the president.
Are preemptive pardons on the table as the president goes through?
I'm just not going to. I'm not going to get ahead of the president. Certainly, the president is looking at reviewing next steps, and there will be more to come. I'm just not going to get ahead of the president. I'm not going to get into hypotheticals from here.
And then a different pardon question. In your first briefing here, as press secretary, you committed to speaking to the American people, and I quote, in a transparent way, in a truthful way, and an honest way.
Yes.
And then in July, here at this podium, you were asked about the president pardoning his son, and he said, it's a no, it will be a no, it's a no.
Yes. And that is exactly right.
Of the president's son and that pardon, it became a yes. I'm wondering if you would like to explain to us, the American people, really why the information that you provided turned out not to be true.
And I answered this question on Monday. We spent about 30 minutes on this, almost 30 minutes, roughly 30 minutes on this particular issue. And I'm just going to reiterate what I said on Air Force One to your colleagues when I did the gaggle. And look, if you look at his statement, it's pretty comprehensive. The statement that he put out on Sunday when he made this decision to pardon his son, Hunter Biden. It's in his own voice. I think it takes you through his thinking, and he did. He wrestled with this. And again, he said in his statement, in his own voice, that he made that decision this past weekend. And the fact is, when you think about how the president got to this decision, circumstances have changed. They have. And a couple of things, and I said this on Monday as well. Republicans said they weren't going to let up, weren't going to stop. Recently announced Trump appointees for law enforcement have said on the campaign that they were out for retribution, and I think we should believe their words, right? We should believe what they say. The sentencing was coming up, as you all know. There was a sentencing coming up, and the president said this in his statement, that Hunter and his family had been through enough. Enough is enough. And he wrestled with these circumstances, these changing circumstances ultimately. And the combination of that, the president changing his mind and issuing, certainly led to the president changing his mind and issuing this pardon. And one thing that I do want to point to, which I think is important, is what Congressman James Clyburn said when he was interviewed. He said, "I am absolutely okay with it. I don't know how many people urge him to do so, but I did." He seemed to be reticent about it. This is what Clyburn said when he spoke to the president 2 weeks ago. But I emphasized, continuing his quote, emphasized the fact that we as fathers have obligations to our children. So that was a conversation that the congressman himself had with the president two weeks ago, said that the president was reticent when he encouraged the president to do so. And this weekend, he thought about it and he weighed, it was not an easy decision to come to, and he put out a comprehensive statement. And I would certainly, offer that up to folks out there who are wondering. I would say please read the president's response to this in full.
I'm sure my colleagues have a few thoughts, just very specifically.
It's not only colleagues who watch this. There's also the American people.
Exactly.
So to be
Exactly.
fair,
And they were
right.
told by you in July that this would not happen, and it did. Do you, I'm saying, asking for yourself, not the president, but for yourself. Do you feel like you are owed an apology by the president? Do you owe an apology to the American people?
Zeke, I just laid out the president's thinking. The president laid it out himself in his own words. He did. He laid out how he wrestled with this decision. He said in his statement, as a president, as a father, he talked about how difficult it was to make this decision. He thought about it this weekend. He did. He thought about it this weekend. He wrestled with it. And there are some, factors, some real factors that he took into consideration. And that's why I keep saying folks should just take a look. Take a look. Read his statement. And I know what I said. I know what the president said. That is where we were at the time. That is where the president was at the time. I am his spokesperson. This weekend, he thought about it. He wrestled with it. And made this decision. That's what I can tell the American people.
Why should they have any confidence in anything else?
I think the American people understand, and I think they understand how difficult this decision would be. And I would actually add, and I think it's important to note here as you're asking me these questions, important questions to ask, that there was a poll, a US Gov poll that came out, that some of you all reported on it, and it said 64% of the American people agree with the pardon. 64% of the American people. So we get a sense of where the American people are on this. Obviously it's one poll, but it gives you a little bit of insight. 64% is nothing to sneeze at. But again, the president talked about this, his own words. He said this weekend he wrestled with this. This weekend he thought about this. And he made this decision. And let's not forget, we can't also forget what some of the legal experts and former prosecutors have all agreed on, many across the country, have virtually said no one would be criminally prosecuted with felony offenses with these facts. And they've all agreed. We've heard from many legal experts on this. You heard me quote the former Attorney General Eric Holder multiple times, I think about 8 times on Monday. No U.S. attorney would have charged this case given the underlying facts. Had his name been Joe Smith, the resolution would have been fundamentally and more fairly a declination, pardon warranted. And we've heard from many legal experts and also obviously a former U.S. attorney.